This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision?
Everywhere you turn, Indiana Fever's breaking records. All Sheryl Swoopes did was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. Any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark because that gives fodder to those who believe she's being hated on and ostracized to some degree. Do you realize that, Sheryl Swoopes, you're insane to do that?
Oh, this one's got teeth. Stephen A. Smith didn't just stir the pot. He turned the heat all the way up and tossed in some dynamite. In a fiery monologue that quickly caught fire online, the ESPN heavyweight aimed his sights squarely at the WNBA's leadership, with Commissioner Kathy Engelbert in the crosshairs, and veterans like Sheryl Swoopes feeling the blast. His mission? To call out the league for what he sees as an embarrassing mishandling of its biggest star and golden opportunity, Caitlin Clark. This wasn't just sports talk, it was a full-on reckoning. Let's rewind for a second. Caitlin Clark is that player, the one who sells out arenas, the one who draws in millions of viewers like it's Game 7 of the NBA Finals, the one who somehow made women's basketball the conversation.
I love watching her score and just everything about her. I got an Iowa t-shirt for Caitlin Clark. We couldn't find a Caitlin Clark one.
You don't just watch her play, you make time to watch her play, and the world's caught on. Teams are moving their games to NBA arenas just to handle the demand when Clark and the Indiana Fever roll through. National TV? She's everywhere. Not for being a media creation, but because she's the real deal.
This isn't just for Caitlin, but you asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player set it.
Okay.
Right.
Butter pecan. But here's where the story gets frustrating, because instead of celebrating this once-in-a-generation lightning bolt of talent and attention, the WNBA seems to be sleepwalking through the moment.
When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport.
Smith didn't hold back. He slammed the league for its lukewarm treatment of Clark, accusing them of dragging their feet, while the rest of the world is sprinting to catch a glimpse.
When you take that into consideration and you think about what the WNBA is on course to continue to do, how women's basketball, the attention, the allure, how all of a sudden that's in the mind's eye of everybody else, you clearly have this person, Caitlin Clark, to thank for it.
Case in point, when Clark won Rookie of the Year, a milestone that should have come with fireworks, highlight reels, and a press blitz, the WNBA let her know with a quiet phone call during practice. No fanfare, no red carpet, just a quick congrats in Connecticut before a playoff game.
So, congratulations, Caitlin. You are the 2024 Kia WNBA Rookie of the Year.
Meanwhile, other players with far less spotlight get full-blown ceremonies. You can't make this up. And then there's Sheryl Swoopes, a WNBA legend who, according to Smith, didn't just withhold support for Clark, but actively avoided even saying her name.
Here's what Sheryl Swoopes had to say. Look at this quote here. I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana. I'm going to shout out to Lexie Hull. I'm a big Lexie Hull fan. Lexie Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She's just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. If Indiana continues to play the way they're playing like this, they too are going to move up in the standings, end quote. So no, Caitlin Clark. Sheryl Swoopes. No, Caitlin Clark.
Instead of helping elevate the league's brightest star, Smith says vets like Swoopes, and even current superstars like Aja Wilson, seem more concerned with preserving the old guard, like Clark's meteoric rise is a threat instead of a gift. Here's the uncomfortable truth Smith laid bare. For all the incredible contributions of WNBA players over the years, nobody cared. Not like they do now. Fair or not, Caitlin Clark flipped the script. She didn't just show up and hoop, she brought everyone with her. New fans, young girls, entire families, and people who've never watched a WNBA game are now tuning in religiously. And yet, the league's response? Shrug. Stephen A. said it loud. This isn't just a missed opportunity, it's self-sabotage.
You know what I would say to y'all? Then are you willing to admit how stupid it was for y'all not to go all in in speaking your piece to elevate Caitlin Clark?
The WNBA finally has a player who's making women's basketball cool to a whole new generation. And instead of leaning in, the league seems hesitant.
It doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it. You didn't want to, rather. You were a bit hesitant and reluctant.
Like Clark's rise is disrupting some kind of unspoken hierarchy. Smith called it what it is: fear, pride, maybe even a little jealousy. It's not just Stephen A. feeling this way either. Fans have been shouting it from the digital rooftops for months. Clark is the moment. She's already on Forbes' 30 Under 30, won AP Female Athlete of the Year, and graced Time magazine's list of top athletes. She's out here doing interviews, headlining events, and carrying women's sports into the mainstream spotlight. And the very league that should be her biggest cheerleader seems to treat her like a problem.
That this young white girl came out there and did her thing. Rookie of the Year, 4th in the league for MVP voting, assist leader, one of the top leading scorers after the Olympic Games. She put on a show, validating all the attention she was receiving.
So when Smith spoke up, he wasn't just venting, he was holding up a mirror to the league, to the media, and to the gatekeepers who want to maintain business as usual. But business as usual isn't going to cut it anymore, not with Caitlin Clark rewriting the rules. This isn't just about basketball. It's about vision. It's about leadership. And right now, the WNBA is at a crossroads, caught between the old way and the golden ticket standing right in front of them, wearing number. Time to wake up. Well, if Stephen A. Smith's first volley was fire, what came next was a full-blown flamethrower. He wasn't just calling out the WNBA for mishandling Caitlin Clark. He was tearing into the silence, the vague statements, and the thinly veiled resentment with the kind of righteous energy that only Stephen A. can deliver. And at the center of his frustration, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Engelbert's media appearances, awkward and filled with corporate jargon, only added fuel to the fire. Instead of outlining a bold vision or acknowledging the seismic shift Clark has brought to the league, she offered up bland sound bites, PR fluff. It felt like someone completely disconnected from what's happening on the ground. While fans were begging for leadership, for clarity, for celebration, Engelbert gave them a shrug. And meanwhile, from the sidelines, veterans like Sheryl Swoopes continued to lob cold takes into the conversation. Instead of uplifting Clark's accomplishments, they downplayed them.
In this amount of time, then you should do it in that same amount of time. So that's my thought on that.
Suggesting that the attention she's getting is just hype, that it's been manufactured.
He's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? Yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be.
But Smith wasn't buying any of it. He knows what jealousy looks like. And more importantly, he knows what drives professional sports, stars. And Caitlin Clark is that star. His voice rose with conviction. Stop it.
Basketball ain't need a pundit. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it.
Because let's be real, this isn't just about Clark not getting her flowers. This is about the league fumbling its biggest opportunity ever. If the WNBA keeps treating Caitlin Clark like she's just another rookie, they're not making a mistake. They're burning their best shot at finally breaking into mainstream sports culture in a way that lasts. Smith saw the writing on the wall, and he's sounding the alarm because someone has to. And guess what? People are listening. Fans, sponsors, brands. Everyone's watching to see how the WNBA handles the biggest story in women's basketball history. Meanwhile, some folks are still out here pretending there was an actual debate over who deserved Rookie of the Year last season. Imagine being that disconnected from reality. Smith said it plainly. Caitlin Clark saved this league. No TV deals, no sponsorships, no McDonald's money for other rookies like Angel Reese. None of that happens without Clark's star power. She's the reason the lights are still on, and it's time people start acting like it. This isn't just incompetence anymore. There's a growing suspicion that something deeper is going on. Backroom politics, unspoken power plays. Swoopes, once a league pioneer, has become a voice of resistance. She's questioned Clark's impact, suggested her rise has been too fast, too easy, too hyped. The message? This league belongs to the vets. The rookies need to earn their spot. But here's the irony. When asked if all 3 of her MVP seasons were dominant, Swoopes said no. That's right. She downplayed her own career before she'd admit Clark is dominant. Smith didn't hesitate. He called it out for what it is: gatekeeping. Petty, counterproductive, because while others talk, Clark produces. On the court, in the ratings, at the box office, and that's what matters. Let's be crystal clear. Smith's rant wasn't anti-WNBA. Far from it. It was a passionate plea for the league to finally get out of its own way. He wasn't trashing the players or the game. He was begging them to see the moment they're in. Clark isn't a distraction. She's the vehicle. She's the rising tide that can lift all boats, but only if the league is willing to let her. Clark is doing everything right. She's winning. She's selling out arenas. She's redefining what a women's sports icon looks like in 2025. The endorsements, the cultural buzz, the international headlines. She's not just part of the WNBA, she is the WNBA right now. But if Kathy Engelbert and Sheryl Swoopes and anyone else still clinging to the old ways don't wake up, they might end up watching this historic moment pass them by from the sidelines, while Caitlin Clark carries the game somewhere new, somewhere the WNBA always dreamed of going, but never quite knew how to reach. Well, now they've got their ticket.